You can't do that here. By Cat Weasel. Anon has only been in Ponyville for a month, and every pony hates him. One shot. A couple weeks ago, the quiet town of Ponyville has been disrupted by the sudden appearance of a peculiar creature, a bipedal talking, covered in fur with no horn or wings. They call him Anon, since they had a trouble pronouncing his real name. Apparently, he has stumbled into Equestria through a mysterious portal, and now the town was abuzz with tales of his strange antics. Twilight sighed as she looked down at the long list of complaints from the residents of Ponyville. It had been a hectic month trying to acclimate Anon to their society. It seemed like he was still making quite a few cultural missteps. She knew it was a lot to ask of someone from another world, but the safety and happiness of her friends and fellow ponies were at stake. She was hoping to have all her friends attend this meeting, but alas, only Fluttershy was willing to attend. The two friends sat at their seat in the library with Anon across them. He appeared rather bored and uninterested as he drummed his fingers on the table. He occasionally met eyes with Fluttershy, who quickly blushed and hid behind her hair. Twilight cleared her throat to get everyone's attention. Hi. How are you? So, Anon, I suppose you would like to know why I've called you here today? Twilight began, trying to keep a firm but gentle tone. Anon leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. Is it because I forgot to flush the toilet again? I swear it's the lever playing hide and seek every time I go into the bathroom here. Twilight expression remained stern. Well, no. We'll get to that. It's all about the overall being of Ponyville. The complaints has been piling up. We need to address them before they get serious issues. For starters, apples in Sweet Apple Acres are disappearing at an alarming rate and being placed in creepy spiral all over the orchard. Applejack says she's seen you near an odd hour of the night. Could you explain what's happening? Anon rubbed his neck, looking slightly embarrassed. Oh, right. The apples. Well, I've been having a bit of a midnight snack problem, and they are dissatisfying to pick off the branches. I tried to put them back, but as it turns out, magic doesn't work like that around here. So I figured instead of leaving them lying around, I would make them look cool. Fluttershy spoke timidly. But, Anon, Applejack works really hard on her farm. And when things aren't in their place, it's hard for her to manage. Could you maybe ask before you take any more? And not make a creepy shape out with them? Well, what kind of farmer has a dog that can't even chase someone off their property? Anon retorted. That dog loves to play fetch with apples, for crying out loud. It's like AJ wants to be robbed. Twilight frowned. Anon, Winona isn't a security system. She's a family pet. And Applejack is upset because her crop is being disturbed, which is cruel for her livelihood. It's important to respect each other's property and work here in Ponyville. Fine. Fine, I'll stay away from the apples, okay? Anon said, raising his hand in gesture of defeat. Twilight nodded, taking notes on her scroll. I'm glad we get that sorted out. Now, on to the next complaint. While it is common for ponies to not wear any clothes, we'd greatly appreciate if you stop putting your pants down and showing your behind when you're upset with some pony. Wait, now you're all offended by that? You all just seem more confused and upset when I did it. It's just that Fluttershy turns Fluttershy turned a deep shade of red. We're starting to get a gist, especially when you say we can kiss it. Oh, he's trying to say kiss my ass. Not to mention Falter start to imitate it. Hold on. Not to mention Falter started to imitate it. Twilight said, glaring fiercely at Anon. Never in all my days have I seen many Fulton fillies wearing only pants around town. I was wondering why they started doing that, Anon exclaimed, trying and failing not to laugh. Twilight glare grew stronger as she waited for Anon to get hold of himself. This isn't a joke, Anon. Even though you haven't exactly encouraged Fall to copy your actions, you are a very big influence to young minds. You are still rather new and interesting to them. They are going to mimic you for the fact they think it's cool. And Rainbow Dash is still rather steam. Scootaloo did it to her when they get in an argument. Fluttershy added. She thinks she's starting to idolize you over her. Anon laughter died in his throat. Oh, I have no idea. So you want me to tell the foal to take their pants off? Anon's eyes suddenly widened as he realized what he said. While Twilight had stated ponies don't usually wear clothes, it sounded like he was a major kind of a pervert in his mind. Thankfully, neither Twilight or Fluttershy seemed to recognize his slip-up as Twilight replied, just stop doing it, and I'm sure the folks will follow your lead. That's all we ask. Now, onto the third complaint. There's been a lot of noise coming from your house of odd hours. Some of the residents are having trouble sleeping. Can you tell us what's going on? Anon leaned forward, a slight defensive look on his face. Look, I talk to myself. It's something humans do when they are trying to figure out things. They usually scream and quote, and I quote, oh. Is this Anon? Yeah. They usually scream, and I quote, Maria! I would have gone back for you. Anon actually had a decent look, a little embarrassed this time. Oh, I think there's Anon. This is why I think, I don't know, or still Anon. Oh, right, that. Oh, this is Twilight. They usually scream, and I quote, they usually hear scream, and I quote, Maria, I would never have gone back for you. Anon actually had a decency to look a little embarrassed this time. Ah, right, that. I know you ponies aren't a big movie buff, but in my world, we get bored without them. So I kind of reenacted them when I can't sleep. Twilight's expression remained serious. It may have been appropriate to scream. Twilight looked down at her notes, and I quote, "Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? In your own words of in your own world at 2 in the morning, but here we are. But here we like to sleep peacefully." It was a good film. In my defense, it was a good film. So I take it you're also quoting a line when you go to random strangers in the streets and saying things like "doing, dong, where's my automobile?" Oh, he's going crazy. He's going cuckoo. Twilight asked with a sarcasm. Or you could sit next to a pony and tell them it's not their fault over and over. That's kind of messed up. I don't. Or you sit next to a pony and tell them. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't take. Hold on. I need to. Need to focus. Okay. Or when you sit next to a pony and tell them it's not their fault over and over until they start crying. Fluttershy added, "They can't even tell us why they cry when you said that. It just made them cry." Anon burst out laughing at the accusation. He couldn't help it. The absurdity of this action and the pony's reaction was just too much. Twilight raised an eyebrow at his outburst, but Fluttershy couldn't help but giggle a little too, her cheeks becoming flushed. "Don't encourage him, Fluttershy. Don't encourage him, Fluttershy." Twilight whispered, trying to maintain her composure. She took a deep breath before continuing. "Anon, while we appreciate that you're trying to adopt, it's important to understand that our custom behavior are different from here to you. We don't have cars or movies in the way you do. Some of the phrases you're using are either confusing or upsetting to the ponies. Can you please try to be mindful of that?" But they make it so easy," Anon protested. There's no excuse that is no excuse to treat other ponies like they are your toys when you're bored. We have a giant library here, filled with books that I'm sure you can find your liking," Twilight said, gesturing around the room. Anon folded his arms and grumbled, "I'll try. No promises." Twilight rolled her eyes. "Thank you for your enthusiasm. Now, let's move on to the next issue. Rarity respectfully requests that you stop requesting her to make," Twilight blushed, "intimate item." "I can explain that one," Anon interjected. "You see, my new friend Lyra has been asking about a lot of questions about my world, and one thing led to another, and she was kind of curious about a few things. So I thought it would be I'd be a good friend and see if Rarity could make something to satisfy Lyra's curiosity." Twilight blushed deepened as she could feel the heat rising on her cheeks. She didn't want to imagine what kind of item Anon has been asking Rarity to make. Fluttershy buried her face under her hoofs, giggling now a full-blown snicker. Twilight looked at her bemusement, questioning what was wrong with Fluttershy today. "She asked me to tell you and I did. So let's get into the next complaint," Twilight cleared her throat and tried to maintain her professional demeanor.
Oh yes, Rainbow Dash has filed a complaint about you. She's rather upset with you too.
Yeah, well, when isn't she? Anon equipped. Oh, okay.
Rainbow Dash is demanding you stop writing weird messages on other pony rooftops when she flies over them. For instance, she said you're getting on her nerves when she landed on suddenly realizing the things she just read. Things like, Rainbow Dash is secretly a dude. And I asked AJ to marry me. She said yes. On top of that, Rainbow Dash is beyond frustrated she can't get song lyrics he made her read out of her mind.
Aw, what's wrong with Baby Shark? He said, genuinely confused.
I think I like it actually.
Fluttershy murmured, smiling lightly.
It's rather cute. Be as it may, Fluttershy, the town is not a candidate for pranks or professional messages.
Twilight said, her eyes are still on Anon. Hold on. Hey, I would never thought if you had done it in first. I would never have never thought of it if you haven't done it first. So technically, that's on you. Twilight took another deep breath, tried to keep her patient.
Anon, whether we started or not, you need to understand that your action may have consequences here. They are affecting the harmony of Ponyville. Now, I think Fluttershy has something to say now. Go ahead, Fluttershy.
Fluttershy looked up, looking a little taken back.
Oh, I don't have any complaint about Anon. Not anymore. What do you mean by that?
Twilight exclaimed, holding up her list.
I have your complaints written right here. You said you were upset that Anon was using your rodent animals to play as toy soldiers. Well, it's just that after talking to them, I realized they actually enjoyed it.
Fluttershy explained with a warm smile to Anon.
They are like towers. They like the tower and overstructure to build them. They also feel confident in their army outfit, and the hamster especially like to pretend they're airships in Anon's hands when she make effects like
Ignore that. I don't know.
sound effects. They have been asking for you to come back to play again. I guess I overreacted a bit.
Anon smiled deviously. Well, in that case, wait until they see the next thing I planned for them. It's called Warhammer.
That sounds a little ominous, but I'm sure they enjoy it.
Fluttershy replied, clapping her hoof. Twilight could feel a headache coming on. She pressed her hoof on her face and sighed.
Moving on to the next complaint.
It really made me laugh. It really made me laugh when it really made me laugh when Anon said Rainbow Dash is a great dude and I asked Edgy to marry me. It's really funny because seriously, you can't do that here. By Cat Weasel. The second shot. It was supposed to be Twilight's day off today. The day where she can do whatever she wants as her heart please. So today she really wanted to have some date all to herself. She have accomplished a lot in the past week and spent more than enough with her friends, but thanks to a certain person, her day of solitude had to wait. The concern The citizen concerned box at a town hall was once again was bursting with complaints, or as Anon liked to put it, the snitch box. Usually, usually it was Mayor's job to handle such things, but since all complaints were directly at Anon again, Twilight was forced to deal with it. Even ever since Anon had arrived in Equestria, Twilight was honored and pleased that the Cutie Mark Crusaders, or the Cutie Map, chose her to find and help him. Now, hold on. Now, Twilight suspected that the Cutie Map must have been drinking that day, because she is sure as heck it hadn't. Now, every pony saw Twilight as to go to pony whatever there was a problem with Anon. I'll rephrase that. Now every pony saw Twilight as she goes to the pony wherever there was a problem with Anon, bringing along a large cup of coffee with her. Twilight used her magic to open the double doors of the library with a shroud on it. The smell of old books and dusty greeted her, a scent she usually finds comforting, but today it was tinted with a dread of impending paperwork. Thankfully, Anon was already waiting, probably wanting to get this over with and as much as with her.
Good morning, Anon.
Twilight said simply, moving to take a seat on the table. Good morning, Princess. How hath we done displeased touch ponies today? Anon said with sarcasm. Hold on. Twilight rolled her eyes. Anon, cheekiness was like a double-edged sword. Sometimes it's entertaining. Other times it was exhausting. Today is one of those exhausting days. Hold on, I'm fixing something. She plays a stack of complaints before him with a thump. The parchment flustered and settled the corner, whispering accusation and grumbles.
Well, why don't we find out together, shall we?
Twilight suggested with a forced smile.
Before we begin, I am going to repeat any offenses in here. You told me you were going to clean up your act, and you still managed to rack up a ton of complaints.
Anon shrugged nonchalantly. I don't know. Maybe they just don't like me because I'm not pinky and sparkly.
Don't play the racism card, Anon.
Twilight gently scolded. She picked up the topmost letter, her horn growing as she levitated it open. The ink was a furious scrawl across the page, the center anger apparent even when she reads it through the word.
This complaint appears to be from Low and Lotus. The spa ponies are so tolerant. What have you done possibly to upset them?
Anon rubbed the back of his head. Well, why don't you go and skip that one? I learned my lesson already and they gave me a lifetime ban.
If I skip one complaint, I have to skip all the complaints. As tempting as that is, you are my responsibility. Now let's see here.
Twilight began to silently read the complaint, her expression neutral until she reached a certain part. Her eyes bulged as she gasped and a hoof on her mouth, and she looked back at Anon with a murdered in her eyes.
You didn't, she said with a fierce look. Anon chuckled nervously, his face reddening. I was curious if you ponies had the same meaning back in my world. It's actually crazy that you do. I wasn't actually expecting a happy ending. Good. Now, number spa in equestrian does that. Okay. Okay. Good. Good? Because no spa in equestrian does that. Anon? She Twilight barked, her blood boiling so much she could almost feel steam coming out of her ears. We find language like that to particularly to be sexual assault. You're lucky you only got a lifetime ban. I don't think I can show my face here now. There now. Twilight cowered slightly under her fierce gaze, his eyes darting around the room. Okay, I get it. I shouldn't have said that. But come on, how am I supposed to know if I didn't ask? The human mind is curious. I'm curious. Not really added, but just added there. Twilight closed her eyes and took several deep breaths to calm herself down. Her morning was officially ruined. It was done by a first complaint. Be as it may, may as well see how Anon managed to piss off the dozen citizens of Ponyville before lunch. All right, next complaint. This one was from a shocker. Rainbow Dash. She said you've been spreading rumors about she's. A utter look of confusion came over Twilight's face as she looked up at Anon. Racism. Why would you ever be telling ponies Rainbow Dash is a racist? Who's racist against who? Anon felt he could stand up on the ground on this one. She hates pies. As all ponies know, we love pies. But apparently she did not. She hates pies. Not just any pie, all the pies. And the public has right to know. Just because Rainbow Dash hates pie doesn't mean she's a racist. Anon, Twilight stated, astonished. She just had to explain that. Pies aren't even a race. They are food. They're not currants, they're not griffins, not chainlink, but pastries, edible goods, yum-yums. Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't believe she said yum-yums. Yum-yums. Why? I fail to see the difference. I know you don't. Just stop it with the rumors, okay? Rainbow Dash isn't racist. Oh, let me get that right. I know you don't. Stop with the rumors, okay? Rainbow Dash is not racist. Twilight snapped. She wasn't in the mood to explain how ridiculous Anna was being. Moving on. This one isn't a complaint, actually. It appears to be a petition. Let's see here. Anon began to feel deeply worried. Had the townfolk collected signatures to have him banished, imprisoned, executed? He started to relax a bit when he saw Twilight's face had turned to a deep red when she finished reading the document. She coughed into her hoof before explaining. This petition has been signed by over 200 ponies out of the town. As you already know, ponies aren't required to wear clothes as a rule, but it seems they want you to at least wear pants in public. Anon looked at her, and in a slight confusion in his eyes. That doesn't sound fair. Everyone else here walks in nude. I actually find it very freeing. Plus, it prevents any tan lining. Twilight. Oh, Twilight answers delicately as she could. It's not that we're trying to be spiteful, Anon. It's just that, well, we are ponies, quite a bit shorter than you. And when you don't wear clothes, it puts a certain features at eye level for us, especially in the morning. Anon stared blankly. I don't follow. She means we don't want to keep looking at your crotch in our face. Applejack interjected, striding into the library with her usual brassness. Ponies keep saying they feel like they're talking to your. Oh God! Hold on, I gotta keep writing about this. Pony keeps saying it feels like they're talking to your crutch rather than your face when you talk to them when you go around town naked. Twilight's face hove in embarrassment. Oh, for Celestia's sake, Applejack! Couldn't you have picked more of a delicate way to say that? And what are you doing here? Applejack sat down next to Twilight, a stony expression on her face. I believe you've been on the easy on this one, and I decided to come in and make sure he's getting a big proper scolding. So, let's get this show on the road, shall we? I don't know. I don't know. Judge me for my country female voice. Okay, I don't do much about female voice. Okay, all right. Twilight looked slightly disgruntled, but kept her peace. Anon looked from one to the other, his expression a mix of amusement and bewilderment. Fine, I'll wear some pants if it gets anyone off my back. But I think you guys are slinging me out. Real pants, Sugar Cube. Real pants. Applejack emphasis, pointing at Anon with a stern look. Not those little tiny shorts you wear under them. Rude. Rude much? Anon muttered under his breath. Applejack winked at Twilight with a smile that clearly sent a message. This is how you do it, Twilight. Twilight ignored her and read out the next complaint, hoping it wasn't as mortifying as the last one. Okay, this one is from Octavia. Her complaint is that while playing a sonnet to a full house at Ponyville venue, you farted twice. Loud enough to be heard over her assemble. Applejack pulled a note over her to read it herself. Instead of excusing yourself like you should have, you went ahead and announced to the audience. It's twice. It's twins. Twilight half up again, groaning. Anna, that's not funny. That's just disrespectful to every pony involved, including yourself. Anon snickered. It's just a little Hey, you can't blame me. I just got gassy. Little gassy. Twilight, it's natural body function. It's not the end of the world. Besides, the Falls find it hilarious. Applejack's face remained amused. You aren't exactly helping your kids with that one, Sugar Cube. While you may be right at a daycare, you need to act your age in public. As for Octavia, you need to write her a letter of apology, a genuine apology.
But she had thrown me out. Isn't that enough punishment?
No!
Twilight and Applejack said in unison.
Dictators.
Anon grumbled. Twilight chose to pretend she didn't hear that and read out the next complaint.
This one's from Miss Shirley.
She read the complaint in silence. This time she shook her head and hoof to cover Applejack.
You can have this one.
Applejack took the paper and read it and gave Anon a deadpan look.
You stumbled into Miss Shirley's classroom, slurring your speech, and asked, "Where's all the white girls?" The fall was startled. But as for Sweetabelle, she was mortified. She ran out of the schoolhouse like the building was on fire.
Anon put his elbow on the table and ran his hand through his hair. Okay. I know that was bad, but I didn't know Berry Punch Brew was so strong. She offered me a taste of her new strawberry wine cooler, and it tasted like, well, regular juice. Before I knew it, I was hammered. If anything, Berry should have stopped me.
Here, she tried.
Twilight had another paper in her hoof.
Berry tried wavering a saddle to deter you from leaving the bar. Your response was to slap it out of her hoof, throw her over your back, and yelled,
"Hey, no, it didn't kill you because you weren't armed. Gotta get the chopper. Get to the chopper." Oh, I think this is like a Arnold Schwarzenegger quote from the Alien vs Predator.
Then, after running through the streets, you dump her on the bench, shaking like a leaf, before you left her alone. You kept repeating the words,
"Oh, Luna!
Oh, Luna!" Repeating the words. "It's not your fault." "Really, Anon? Just really?"
Anon moved his hand over his head in shame, whispering, "Damn you, Goodwill Hunting."
That's it, Anon. That is it, Anon.
Applejack stand up from her seat and pointed to the door.
"Go to your room right now. You're grounded."
Anon was greatly taken aback. "What? I'm not a kid. You can't ground me, Applejack."
"I will, and I can."
Applejack retorted furiously.
You're acting like a darn fall on Sugar Rush with no manners. Since your mama ain't here to do it, our Meadows will be the one to discipline you. Now march to your room and think about what you've done."
Anon folded his arm and stared defiantly. "Make me."
Anon
And Applejack eyes narrowed.
"Don't test me, Sugar Cube. You're on 10 hours it is."
Don't fucking judge me, okay? God. I can feel the judgment. Twilight saw the tension rising, decided to intertwine. She didn't want to start another day with all out war, especially not in the library.
"Applejack, hold on. Now hold on, Applejack," she said quickly. "Why don't we all take a step back and think about this for a moment?" "What's think about? What is it to think about? What is it to think about?" Applejack exclaimed. The boy needs to learn how some discipline. Give give him to me for a week and I'll whip him into shape. That's not going to happen, Applejack, Twilight said firmly. I'll be the one to decide whether or not Anon should be punished. Anon looked slightly relieved, but the tension in the room was still palpable. Applejack sat back down, trying to murder Anon with her stare. Fine. Let's read off some more of the town's complaints until you convince this boy needs a good switch. Thankfully, that cooler heads prevailed for now. Twilight read out the next complaint. This one is from Miss Cake. It seems she told Pinky a rather inappropriate joke, and now she keeps repeating it to other customers. Do I want to know the joke? What the joke is? It was a dark humor, but I didn't know it would be so offensive. Anon replied. What was the joke, Anon? Applejack demanded. Anon cringed. I forgot. Applejack leaned in with a knowing look. Horse apples. What did you tell Pinky? Twilight rolled her eyes and sighed. I'd rather not hear it. Anon, you can explain it to Pinky that the joke you told her is rude and must never be repeated. One of you is more than enough in Ponyville. He turned to pick up the next complaint, hoping it would be less embarrassing, but Applejack put her hoof on the stack. No, Twilight, I want to hear a joke. You can tell me right now and increase your chances of being able to walk, or I can find Pinkie Pie and have her tell me. Anon ground and relent to Applejack. What do you call Cutermar Crusaders when they are depressed? Okay. Twilight scrambled off her seat, chuckling nervously. I think we did enough for today. Any pony wants breakfast? I want breakfast. And then why don't you go to your room? I'll call you when it's safe. When it's ready. Applejack slammed her hoof on the table so hard it rattled when nearby books. Both Twilight and Anon froze. It was this moment. Yep, you fucked up. It was this moment that Anon knew he fucked up. Meaning messed up. I don't know, Anon, Applejack said coldly. What do you call CMC when they're depressed? A snark. Anon took a deep breath slowly. Anon took a slow and deep breath as he stuttered a punchline. A suicide squad? She said in a afraid tone. Applejack's eyes widened in shock, and Twilight in disbelief. Twilight's face has gone pale as she stared at Anon, who looked like a foal caught in her hoof in a cookie jar. The silence was thick. You could cut it with a chainsaw. A few minutes into uncomfortable silence, Applejack finally tilted her head down and spoke. Twilight? Yeah, she said plainly. Yes, Applejack? Her voice. Twilight replied, her voice shaking and heartbeat racing. Would you mind calling the ambulance? Applejack said, gritting her teeth, her eyes still fixed on Anon. Oh, you're not feeling well? Anon. Twilight asked with a timid, nervously hoping her friend was feeling sick. Applejack crooked her neck. It's not for me, you cube. Then Applejack lunged at Anon. Wow. That is dark, okay? As what do you call when a CMC is depressed? A suicide squad? Really up? Really, Anon? That's the best thing you came up with at the moment? Why? If anything else? Why I'm not impressed? I'm not impressed. Anyways, if you're gonna tell a dark joke, make sure it's no females. Make sure it's like all males.